Hello, welcome back to another episode of Clicks to Customers. This is John Horn, your host and CEO of StubGroup. And today I am joined by Glib Hodorovskyi, who is the co-founder of ConversionRate.store. Glib, thanks so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me, everyone, guys.
Right, so we're going to talk about ultimately making money today, how to make more money out of the traffic that you're getting to your website. And Gleb, it looks like you are the man when it comes to conversion rate optimization. So let's just set the stage before we jump into lots of nitty gritty here. What is conversion rate optimization?
Sure. So basically, pretty much any big tech company do like experimentation, product growth, right, and optimizing their conversion funnels. So like CRO was just the term, right, to kind of talk about this as a separate discipline, right? In Silicon Valley, people mostly talk about this as product growth or experimentation, etc. But basically, I think that every company has their specific processes on that end, and we also like came up to after like 4,000 ABDAs for various verticals, all classical business models. Yeah, we came up with pretty much universal process on how to grow conversion rate. But basically, if we define conversion rate optimization, this is kind of the process where you have some kind of data analytics, search, etc., some way of getting insight, and which is kind of the core thing, creating hypothesis on how to optimize the metric, and then going through an A/B test, another way of validating this idea. That's basically a general overview of what all it is about.
Yeah, ultimately about, again, how do you do more, from that traffic you're getting and extract more value out of that. So let's dig in. You mentioned you've kind of developed this process over the years. I'd love to learn more about that. How do you think about it, and what is the process that you approach CRO with?
Sure. So I would say that, as I mentioned, pretty much every founder, manager, product manager has some ideas, right, on how to improve the metrics. But the biggest problem with that, even at quite mature companies, is there is a lot of guessing in that. Because quantitative analytics, so let's say company pretty mature on that, they have database, event taxonomy, everything is tracked. But as in the companies on this stage, still the quantitative analytics it only tells us what's happening, right? Where is the problem? In some part of reasons, in some part of cases, it can tell the reason behind the problem. Maybe with correlation analysis and things like that. But typically it says that, okay, our problem is here. We're losing huge part of users right at this second step, onboarding, start day cohort, whatever, right? And quantitative analytics don't tell us that reason because of that is because of lack of trust, or some specific jobs to be done is not covered, or people have tons of things in their minds, right? And our approach is basically to, if we quickly summarize that firstly we identify where's kind of the core bottleneck in our overall user journey, where's the biggest bottleneck, and then we focus, we do like sociology, UX research to kind of get data and reasons behind that in the format that, to take this SaaS example, in the format that, okay, like this is drop-off is a third step of onboarding, and 21% of users doing that because they not ready to share their data with this tool. Another 18% because they want to see pricing. Another 12% because they're not the person who made a decision on buying this tool, etc., etc. So basically, I would say the whole really big part of the job is to get data on these reasons behind biggest problems, and after that make hypotheses how to fix it with UX, messaging, monetization tactics, etc., features, etc. And correctly A/B test that as well, right? Because after I observed maybe maybe we had, I don't know, 400 clients or something like this. Like very basic A/B testing rules are very easy to follow, but really a lot of companies not doing even the basics correctly. And typically when people start experimentation in-house, like first year is completely wasted. So obviously the correct data infrastructure, statistics is also very important here.
Can you share some examples of what are some of those mistakes that businesses are often making in-house? Like what are some things they do wrong that make that data not helpful?
Sure, yeah. I have the blog post, something like 40 most typical mistakes you can attach here, but the first really core stuff is that if the data infrastructure, so for example, if company don't have a database, right, just rely on, Mixpanel, Google Analytics, then there is at least 20% of 30% of data not correct, so the whole A/B testing doesn't make any sense because you will not have this equal distribution of traffic that's needed. That's the first thing. Second thing is that if we summarize like very basic experiment statistic real quick, right? So one of the approaches for experimentation is basically you need to calculate what kind of uplift you want to detect with this particular hypothesis, what kind of sample size you need to keep, right? And only after you collected that sample size, this traffic volume, you calculate like p-value, statistical significance, and make decisions if it's about the success of this experiment. So this is like very, very simple, right? But even for this, I think a lot of companies, they do kind of, sort of like p-value hacking, and so basically if sample size is not enough, but you see the p-value is less than 0.5, right? It cannot tell that experiment is winning, right? If sample size is small enough. So this is very simple thing, but I see a lot of companies not doing that. They just look at, p-value and that's it, nothing else. Right. So another like quick thing is statistical power, right? So to estimate that this sample size is big enough. So this is something you can learn in 2 blog posts or something, but a lot of companies not doing that correctly. So for example, to give you a quick example, let's say we have an experiment, p-value is 0.5, right? But sample size is not big enough. In this case, depending on how big is the sample size, but like false positive rate could be like 30%, 40%, etc. So which makes the whole A/B testing like worthless. That's first. Those first 2 are very typical. Like even I had like it's very entrepreneurial scene to don't wait, right? Do more stuff. So we had a lot of debates. Was pretty famous, like well-funded Silicon Valley startups when founders want to make something faster and kind of completely not understanding this like basic of statistics and always ignoring that. You'll have like 40 more mistakes in the blog post. Yeah, but even pretty mature companies, when companies trying to figure out some pretty much any kind of new process themselves, right? It's even pretty mature companies can do things that could spoil the whole experimentation program.
So let's talk about that sample size for a minute. Maybe this is not the right question, but I'll ask it anyway. How big of a sample size do you need? How much traffic or data? How do you think through that formula of what that sample size needs to be?
So it's very straightforward to start with. There's a lot of calculators, like pre-test calculators, right, where you just type your current conversion rate, the minimal detectable effect that you want to achieve, like 5% uplift for a specific metric. And based on this, it tells you, okay, you have to get this amount of users. That's simple. It's very straightforward.
Got it. So somebody's listening to this, watching this right now, just Google, CRO calculator or conversion rate calculator, and then plug in what they're seeing right now, and that can tell them how much traffic they need for the test.
Yeah, exactly. I think that A/B testing tools are doing a very bad job in educating users in that, because in any A/B testing tool you will see this like statistical significance, right? And that's it. People don't look on anything else. In reality, is that A/B testing is not for the majority of small businesses, right? And A/B testing tool cannot say all of your A/B tests are crap. It will never be statistically significant, right? So yeah, that kind of creates probably confusion.
For small businesses, are you saying that generally speaking, they're not going to get enough traffic to really warrant A/B testing, and so they should just say, hey, if this looks better than that, let's go with that? Is that fair?
So for small businesses, you can still start with experimentation. Even if you test something and you have 30% false positive rate, it's better than 50%, right, or something. So you can still start doing that and learning from that, right? And basically, the bigger for smaller businesses, it's critical to focus only on the radical changes. And when there is something that can bring you 30% uplift, for example, right, it could be detected with with relatively small traffic. So for smaller businesses, I would suggest to go in with only big hypotheses, big changes, radical changes, and yeah, that's the way to go. And the research, so a lot of companies, I see a lot of companies, they launched a product, could be a lot of investment in the product, but they don't have normal data infrastructure, which is easy to do. And that kind of, for me, the death valley of a startup is, until you have at least 100,000 visitors, right, where you can run experiments. And from that point, running a company, running a product, it's pretty much a scientific process, right? Same as governments are run based on sociology, right? Same for the tech companies. You can pre-validate pretty much any decision with that. You can get data and reasons behind pretty much any research questions you have in mind. So after that, it becomes more and more, just data-driven and obvious. Well, in case you understand how to imply those things.
Mm-hmm. And when you say 100,000 users, are you talking about on a monthly basis, 100,000?
Yeah, it's just kind of a rough estimate.
And so for smaller businesses, basically saying, hey, because the sample size is so low, probably not worth testing, a green button versus a yellow button. It's more offering a free month versus, no free month, bigger, more radical changes that are going to have a bigger impact on things.
Exactly. So if we're testing somebody who just starting to know about CRO, right? You see, a lot of blog posts where, a button change or some small tweak gives 30% uplift. Well, that's not the case. It's typically the majority of A/B test results that are published, they're done by somebody who conducted 10 experiments in their life, right? And it's typically those examples when A/B test statistics is not correct, right? Because for example, in e-commerce, we run thousands and thousands of A/B tests in e-commerce. It's very rare when one experiment gives more than 10-15% overall company uplift. Those are huge wins, right? And people who run an experimentation program, big companies, they're looking at with case studies and big wins from button changes to small UX click. It's simply the wrong data and it can kind of it's false because of the wrong statistics.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Are there any?
And as for the radical changes, it's same for the mature companies, because I don't know if I would run, experimentation platform Booking.com, right? There are, a lot of teams that are responsible only for, some small piece of the product, some, one block of recommendation of alternative photos, etc. Right? So for mature companies, it's good, to kind of test completely different funnels, very radical changes, challenging the status quo of how things work. And yeah, that's typically where the new, pretty much all big companies, they have kind of a growth plateau and experimentation program, and they mine, for the small wins. And yeah, only testing like radical things is what would really help.
Got it. When it comes to the actual software that you're using for the tests, are there softwares accessible to people out there that you like? Do you build it yourself, use custom approaches? How do you handle that side of things?
So we're very software agnostic, I would say. The A/B testing software is very primitive. Its job is only basically to split the traffic correctly, right? Provide a dev environment and send in like segment of control and alternatives to your database. That's pretty much it. So we have our own A/B testing software that we provide to clients for free. It's doing like exactly the same as all major players out there. So yeah, I'm very, very agnostic on that end. so yeah. So all well-known companies like VWO, Optimizely, Convert, so all good. I have nothing bad to say about that.
Awesome. I'm really curious whether you have any stories that come to mind, maybe a change that you didn't expect would make a big impact that did have a big impact, or vice versa, or just any things that stand out in the many thousands of tests that you've overseen.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, in terms of unexpected things, like a lot of people are very into usability, design trends, etc. In reality, like just pretty much any one usability tweak, if you have just one tweak, right, it doesn't make even any impact, right? So one typical usability tweak, it's not even 0.1% uplift, right? And same for like super fancy designs. I've seen a lot of very horrible websites, like e-com website with designs from 20 years before could have like 12% conversion rates from cold Google Ads traffic at scale, million per week or something, right? So yeah, so the really thing, so this, after working at CRO, I found out that people buy or don't buy stuff because of their perception of value proposition, and they don't buy stuff not because of the website is not, or app or whatever is not convenient or beautiful. It's because they have some specific rejections in mind, and rejections, right? It's like like during a sale, people can have some doubts, right? Some unanswered questions, etc. Some specific perception of value, etc. And our job is to really learn a lot about that and finding the ways of messaging and overcoming those problems that people have. And that's what kind of predictably gives uplift. So we are optimizing this experimentation process for like 9 years, and like for example, last year we increased our A/B test win rate in e-com to about 45% or something, which is super high. Before that, for like 3 years or something, we had the this on a level of 25% or something. And yeah, that was the result of particular this change in the process that I mentioned, meaning targeting only kind of reasons behind the drop-offs. And yeah, and another big thing is that so firstly, like very small percentage of tech companies are doing like sociology, right? Which is people start do some online polls, but it's not like sociology stuff that people learn for 4 years at university, right? While pretty much any other, while for example, huge offline company like Procter and Gamble or whatever, let's take like offline business, right? They do a lot of sociology, right? I mean advanced like offline business. But they are not digitalized, right? They don't have all of metrics like we have in tech, but they do a lot of sociology. They have very good clue on all the purchase triggers, motivation drivers, and things like that of their particular audience. So yeah, that's really key growth factor for us, right? And that's the thing that enables good A/B testing rates and growth rates.
I think it's a really important point that you're making there about how important the value proposition and the objections to that are, because I've definitely seen this time and time again where if the customer, the potential customer, if they really see the value and they really want this thing, they'll fight their way through a website that is really hard to use to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas you could have the easiest to use website possible, but if they don't see the value in that thing, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Not to say that you should have a bad website. Like you should still make it as easy as possible. But yeah, ultimately it is about that value proposition, like you said, and those objections that the customer might have that are going to keep them from getting to the point of converting. Hey Glib, gotta love technology, so got you back on a different device here. Thanks so much for jumping back on. And all right, so yeah, we're just talking there about value propositions and objections and how important it is to get that value actually across to customers. Let me ask you this: we have a lot of e-commerce clients we work with here at StubGroup, and one of the things they're often trying to figure out is how to increase their average order value. How do they get people to spend more money when they purchase? Are there any tips or recommendations or things you've seen in the testing you do that can often contribute to that type of an outcome?
Sure. I mean, I think we've done 600 or something different upsell, cross-sell experiments for e-com, and one of the important things that works very well is thank you page upsells. So for pretty much any product, you can make a thank you page upsell. I mean, after the checkout, right? So user completed the checkout, right? And on the thank you page, you can offer the first upsell or cross-sell. And you can have a sequence of, for example, 3 upsells or cross-sells, or even 5, 10. I know one of our clients told that he knew a founder who scaled like e-com brand from like 20 million to 100 million by simply adding more and more and more of upsells and cross-sells to that. It was so yeah, and that strategy works. That simply works. So even if it's worst selection of upsells, you can still have this 2-5% revenue per visitor uplift. So another thing is order bumps, right? And for a lot of products, it's relevant, to give discounts if you purchase higher quantity, and you can just select that on the product detail page. So also, so basically, we have a lot of places in DX where we can do the upsell, right? We get upsell in checkout and cart, right, on the product detail page. Like thank you page upsells.
Yeah, I love that idea too of the thank you page, because I think a lot of businesses they don't think about that. They think about everything up to the order. How do we get them to say more? But yeah, you're absolutely right. After the order comes through, there's still the opportunity to get them to add on, and they've already gone through the hardest part. They've already given you the money. They've already made the decision. So it's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll give you another $5, $10, $20, whatever. Makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And in the field of software, people almost don't do upsells. They think, okay, we're the image recognition company, or we're like I don't know, like some particular software type. They don't think of themselves as as companies that are monetizing traffic of photographers or offline retailers or whatever, right? And it could be the whole big suite of products that you can upsell and cross-sell. For a lot of tech founders, it sounds like they don't want to do some partnership with other products, or it could be not tech product, it could be pretty much any product that suits online course or whatever that suit the need of your particular audience. So top performing, so let's say it's e-com, like top performing funnels that we've seen and optimized is basically a sequence of, let's say, free upsells post-purchase, and each upsell could have 20% ad rate, and overall sequence could give another 40% AOV or something. And nowadays, so if you're doing e-com, let's say in the US or other competitive market, if you go in for paid traffic, right? So competition would be big in pretty much any segment, right? So not doing this is, it's difficult to compete, right? To recoup acquisition costs. So that's really good way, good thing to do.
Awesome. Let me ask you about the buzzword that everyone's talking about these days, AI. How is AI impacting or not impacting your world in CRO?
Sure. So firstly, I would say that CRO as a service business would be impacted among the last, because this is very multifunctional role. So let's say like typical like product growth team. Let's say we're like big tech company, right? And we have some resources, right? So in order to ideally execute on product growth, we need a team that's focused only on optimizing particular metric. Let's say it's conversion to paid subscription, right? And be responsible for part of the funnel, right, till conversion to paid subscription, right? And doing only, research and experiments, A/B tests, right, to grow that particular metric, and doing only that. Don't do all kind of other things, right? And the team should consist of a data analyst, data engineer, UX researcher, designer, developer, quality assurance, product manager, And so that's very multifunctional. But every individual role, right, it's already impacted by AI a lot, right? So basically, like, it makes us more productive, right? So we can do more and more things with AI. We're using that in pretty much every function, right? Nowadays, you don't need to know SQL or R or Python, whatever, right? You can very, very easily, do pretty much any, like optimized queries, even for database, even if you previously dummy, right, in SQL. So yeah, it makes us productive in every function.
Yeah, I think definitely seeing some similar things to what you're mentioning there, as far as the world that we're in of marketing, of acquiring that traffic. There's a lot of things that we're using AI for to make ourselves more streamlined and efficient in how we deliver our services. And there's some things AI can do in delivering the services as well, but there's still a lot of that multi-function aspect you mentioned as well that goes into actually running campaigns that align with a client's goals and kind of really understand what the value proposition is that they're trying to communicate, and so forth.
Yeah.
So I think as we kind of sorry
to add on AI, I mean, it's already doable, to let's say for e-com, right, like kind of AI-driven recommendations or something. Yeah, but I think that it will take, but let's say this will have, 5% A/B test win rate or 10% A/B test win rate with small growth rate, right? And if it's not like 10 million traffic e-com, you have very limited amount of slots to run experiment, right? Let's say it's 100K per month in traffic e-com, right? It probably has only one. It can do only like one A/B test per month, right? So AI doesn't work, right, in this case. But I can imagine, and I think that will happen pretty quickly, where you can, synchronize all of the, data analytics, UX research kind of in one place, and, kind of knowledge base of the tactics in one place. And yeah, that's all of that is doable.
Yeah, I could see it being very useful, if you're training a GPT or something, to basically just be able to say, hey, what were the results of this test we ran 6 months ago, or how many times have we done X, or just, kind of having a natural language conversation to get the results of what you've been doing for a particular website over
Exactly,
time. Yeah. Well, as we kind of wrap up things with conversation here, I'd love to understand and have you share with the audience, what are the types of businesses, types of clients you're looking for that you specialize in helping, and where is the best place for them to reach out to you to learn more?
Sure. So as mentioned, like 60% of our clients are e-commerce, and so we specialize on process, not on particular industry or vertical. So yeah, it's mostly e-com, SaaS companies, lead gen websites, so everything where it's the website, right, in the lead form. So yeah, work with apps. We've done a lot of in quiz funnels, maybe you know that, it's a quiz.
Yep.
So we've done a lot in that space as well. So yeah, so those are the verticals, I would say.
And where can people reach out to learn more?
Yeah, you
about
can
you?
go to our website, ConversionRate.store. Yeah, and take it from there. Check case studies.
ConversionRate.store. You heard it here. And so Gleb, thank you so much for your time today. Great getting to chat with you and learn more about the world of CRO. And to those who are watching, listening, thanks for your time. Let's go make it a good day. Let's go dominate digital advertising, digital marketing, and let's go serve our clients better, make some more money. So until next time,
Sounds
thanks
good.
for watching.
Have an amazing day.